A customer once told me that he needed a guitar that would have a fretboard radius of 12.125 inches. So I said, can I just make it 12 inches? He said, no, I can't play a guitar with a 12-inch radius. It has to be 12.125 inches. Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. Welcome to my YouTube guitar building channel. If you're new to my channel, I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned your subscription, because after all, they are free. What I want to talk about in today's video is fretboard radius. And what I actually want to do is I want to ask you, the viewer, what your favorite fretboard radius is. What do you prefer to play? Or when you build a guitar, what radius do you shoot for? And what I would like you to do is post your preference down in the comment section below. But go a step further and specify why you prefer that radius. What is it about that radius that you feel is superior to other radius on a fretboard? And for those of you who aren't sure exactly what I'm talking about, the fretboard radius is the amount of curvature from one side of the fretboard to the other. And typically it can be anywhere from about 7¼ inches all the way up to 20 inches. And the larger that number, the flatter the fretboard, because the radius is half the diameter of a circle. So if a circle is 24 inches in diameter, the radius would be 12 inches. So if I were to draw, this particular guitar has a 12-inch radius. So if I were to draw a circle 24 inches in diameter and then raised the fretboard all the way to the top of that circle, it would fit perfectly on that curvature. So let me know kind of what your thinking is. And I find this to be really interesting because when you look at guitars in general, I'm talking classical, acoustic, electric bass, the fretboard radius seems to only be a major concern with the electric guitar. And all the other instruments, it seems to be less of an issue. If you look at a classical guitar, for example, the fretboards are usually dead flat. With acoustic guitars, the radius typically ranges from about 16 inches to 20 inches. And there are a number of guitar builders out there, luthiers, who make acoustic guitars with absolutely dead flat fretboards, no radius whatsoever. And I've noticed that with bass guitars, bass electric guitars, radius is of no concern. And I've talked to other bass guitar players and I've asked them what radius they prefer on their fretboards, and most of them just shrug their shoulders, and oftentimes they don't even know what I'm talking about. In fact, I recently built a bass where the fretboard had a radius of 7¼ inches. I chose that just basically to see what the reaction would be from the bass player, because I knew if the player didn't like it, I could always change the neck with a neck that had a flatter or a different fretboard radius. He didn't care. Didn't matter to him whatsoever. Now 7¼ is pretty rounded, and I thought for sure he would notice that, but he didn't, and he didn't care, and it doesn't matter whatsoever to him. So I find that to be kind of interesting with respect to bass players. But with electric guitar players, it seems to be a critical issue, and it's the source of a lot of controversy among players. I've seen forum conversations where people are arguing back and forth about what they think is the best fretboard radius. And I find that to be really interesting, because all the other, your classical and acoustic and bass players, they just don't care. So why is it the electric guitar players that are so concerned about this? And all I can do is hazard to guess, and I would think that part of the reason is with electric guitars, from the very beginning, the music that we play on electric guitars could be recorded. And obviously, a lot of those recordings became extremely famous. And the guitar players who were recording that music became really famous. So when young kids would pick up a guitar and want to learn to play, they wanted to play like those heroes that they would hear coming out of the speakers of their record player. And when it didn't happen right away, they would become frustrated. They would keep trying to get better, but there's always that point where you think, I'm just not going to get any better. So I think a lot of young players would start to look at the guitar itself and would start to think, well, I wonder if maybe I had a different fretboard radius or a different neck contour or different size frets, or maybe the string action was different. They would almost blame the instrument. And by making some design changes, or at least choosing different guitars with different features, they thought they could just magically become a better guitar player. So the young guitar players would become really fixated on, you know, I can only play a guitar with a 12-inch radius, or I can only play a guitar that has a neck that has a D shape to it, or, you know, I need extra super low action and super jumbo frets, and all these things that they felt they needed in order to be a better player. But those of us who are older know the truth. It just takes a lot of practice. And I think we can all agree that if you handed an unfamiliar guitar to a player like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Yngwie Malmsteen, they're going to make magical music on that guitar because they're just so good. So you can fool around with all the different design features in hopes of achieving that perfect guitar that feels just right in your hands, but that isn't necessarily going to make you an incredible superstar shredder overnight. You're still going to have to invest enormous amounts of practice. And then I think once you do attain that level, you can play pretty much any guitar that someone hands you. So that's kind of my theory as to why the electric guitar is, or why the radius is so important on an electric guitar. So I hope you found this video to be useful, interesting, inspiring, and I encourage you to post your comments down below so that we can all learn from everybody else's experience, and that can help us to make decisions about what to plan for in a future guitar build. In the meantime, though, as always, take care, stay safe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon.